Hello, beautiful friends. Your style only gets better with age. But let me ask you something simple and honest. How many times have you caught your reflection in a shop window or a quick photo and thought, when did my hair start looking this thin? You haven't changed that much about your routine. You're using the same shampoo, the same brush, the same little tricks you've relied on for years, and yet, slowly, your hair seems flatter at the crown, softer at the ends, and somehow less like the full, lively hair you remember. Most of us are told it's just age or hormones, and we try to accept it with a brave face. There is some truth in that, of course. Our bodies do change. But there is another side to the story that no one really talks about. Very often, it is not only nature working against you, it is a handful of tiny habits you repeat every single day without thinking. The way you wash, the way you dry, the way you pull your hair back, the products you reach for on autopilot, all of these can quietly make thinning hair look even thinner after 60. If we have not met yet, I am your beauty and style friend here on Golden After 60, and I spend my days helping women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s feel more confident with the hair they already have. In this video, I am going to walk you through 6 subtle mistakes that work against thinning hair and the soft, elegant fixes that support it, so you can look in the mirror and finally feel like your hair is on your side again. Mistake number 1, the safe one-length cut that flattens everything. For years I told myself, if I keep my hair all one length, it will feel thicker. If it's long, that must mean I still have a lot of hair. Many women over 60 tell me the same thing. That long, heavy curtain feels like safety, like proof that we haven't lost too much. But quietly, that safe cut can turn against us. As we move through our 50s, 60s, and 70s, hair naturally becomes softer and finer. When all of that softer hair is the same length, the weight pulls everything straight down. The roots at the crown collapse, the hair hugs the scalp, and the part looks wider than it used to. From the back, the shape can look flat. The ends separate into skinny pieces instead of forming a full outline. You do not need a dramatic cut to change this. What often makes the biggest difference is something I call internal shaping. Instead of obvious, choppy layers, your stylist removes a little weight inside the haircut, especially around the crown and through the middle lengths. Imagine lightening the lining of a heavy coat so it drapes better. From the outside, it still looks like your hair and your length. It just sits away from the scalp, has gentle lift at the root, and falls in a softer, more flattering curve. A bit of soft face framing helps too. When we open the area around the cheekbones and soften the jawline, the eye is drawn to your smile and eyes, not straight to your part line searching for thin spots. I tell my clients, we are not cutting your hair short. We are lightening the right areas so the rest of your hair is free to lift. One of my favorite examples is a woman I will call Carol, 68, from Florida. She wore her hair in a long, blunt sheet because years earlier a stylist had given her harsh, stair-step layers that made her feel exposed. She swore she would never agree to layers again. We talked through each step, kept her length, and focused only on removing hidden weight inside. When I showed her the back of her head in the mirror, she went quiet, then laughed and said, "It looks fuller, not thinner." Only the structure changed, and that was enough to give her back the volume she thought she had lost. Be honest with yourself for a moment. Are you holding on to a one-length cut because it truly flatters you, or because it simply feels safe? If the answer is safety, this might be the moment to have a calm conversation with your stylist about trying subtle internal shaping. Next, we will look at how the way we use heat tools can quietly build in damage and make even the best haircut fall flat by the end of the day. Mistake number 2, rough heat styling that bakes fragility in. Think about your own routine. Do you ever turn your dryer up to the hottest setting because you feel like your hair will never get smooth otherwise? Have you caught yourself running the flat iron over the same section again and again, hoping it will behave? I have done that, and so have many women in our Golden After 60 community. It feels fast and efficient in the moment, but once we are in our 50s and 60s, our hair cannot tolerate the same treatment it did in our 30s. As hormones shift, each strand usually becomes a little finer and a little drier. Many of us also color, highlight, or cover gray, which adds more dryness and makes the hair more sensitive to heat. By midlife, many women notice some degree of thinning, so we are already working with more delicate hair. When we then blast that fragile hair with maximum heat, we are quietly speeding up the wear and tear. Holding a hot iron in one place for even a few seconds can create a weak spot halfway down the strand where the hair keeps snapping. Over time, this can make it feel as if your hair just stops growing past a certain length. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, why does it always seem to break off right here? Often, that line matches the place where the iron sits the longest. A very hot blow dryer used too close to the head can do something similar. When the air is too hot and aimed straight at the scalp instead of gliding down the strand, the surface of the hair gets roughed up and, instead of a smooth shine, you are left with fuzz and frizz. The goal is not to give up your tools, it is to start using them more kindly. Choose a medium temperature instead of the highest setting and let your hair air dry halfway before you reach for the dryer. Keep your iron moving in a slow, steady glide instead of parking it on one section. Aim your blow dryer so the air flows from roots toward the ends rather than directly into the scalp, and add a light heat protective product so you are not coating the hair with something heavy. One of my golden after 60 ladies, Janet, had what she called a mysterious breakage band, where her flat iron always sat the longest. When we lowered the heat and changed how she moved the iron, her hair started to feel longer, smoother, and stronger again. If any of this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Tell me in the comments which heat habit you are most ready to soften. In the next part, we will look at another quiet culprit behind thinning hair after 60, the shine products that promise smoothness but slowly smother your hair's natural movement. Mistake number 3, heavy product buildup that smothers your shine. As an older woman, I remember when my bathroom shelf looked like a tiny beauty store. I had a serum for frizz, a spray for shine, a mousse for volume, and on busy mornings I would layer all 3 and feel proud of myself. It felt like extra care, like I was doing everything possible for my thinning hair. Have you ever thought, if a little helps, then a little more must be even better, while you add one more pump or one more spray? There is a quiet reason that habit backfires. Hair care is a huge business, and many women use several styling products every single day. Most of those formulas contain rich conditioners, smoothing agents, or soft waxes that cling to the outside of each strand. A small amount can make the surface feel silky and tame flyaways, but when you repeat that routine day after day on finer hair after 50 or 60, those leftovers start to stack up. Instead of a soft, clean fiber, you get a coated strand that never truly feels fresh. At first, that buildup can trick the eye. Under bright light your hair may look shiny, but when you run your fingers through it, it feels waxy instead of soft. The roots lose their lift, the lengths lose their swing, and by lunchtime your hair can already feel heavy or flat even though you washed it that morning. Often it is not your age, it is the invisible film sitting on your hair and your scalp. The good news is that this is one of the easiest things to change. Every few weeks, give your hair and scalp a clean slate with a gentle deep clean shampoo made to remove build-up. You do not need anything harsh, just a formula designed to lift away residue. Then look at your daily routine. Choose lighter products that rinse out easily, and focus them through the mid-lengths and ends instead of massaging everything into the roots. When in doubt, start with half the amount you usually use and only add more where your hair truly needs help. When I made these changes in my early 60s, I was surprised by how different my hair behaved. I did not suddenly grow more hair, but the hair I had moved more freely, held its shape longer, and reflected the light again. A woman in our Golden After 60 community shared something similar. For months she had been layering serum, oil, and shine spray because thinning made her feel exposed. After a gentle reset and switching to one lightweight serum, she told me her hair finally looked hers again, soft, not slippery. In the comments, tell me which product you might put back on the shelf first, and in the next part we will talk about what happens in the shower when we scrub our hair like it is dirty, instead of treating it like silk. Mistake number 4, treating hair like it's dirty instead of delicate. As an older woman with naturally fine hair, I spent years believing I had to shampoo every single day. By late afternoon my roots would look a little oily, and my answer was always the same: hotter water, more shampoo, harder scrubbing. I thought that squeaky feeling meant my hair was finally really clean. Maybe you know that habit too, standing under very hot water, piling shampoo on your scalp, and using your nails until you hear that squeak. It feels satisfying for a moment, but over time the price shows up in the mirror. As we move past 50 and 60, our scalps often produce less natural oil, which means our hair is already more fragile and prone to dryness. When we strip away what little protection is left with harsh daily washing, we rough up the outer layer of each strand. Hair that could have been soft and flexible starts to feel stiff, frizzy, and easier to snap. At the same time, an irritated scalp may actually respond by overproducing oil. So you end up in a frustrating cycle. The more you scrub, the faster your roots seem to get greasy again. A simple mindset shift can change everything. I like to call it the silk-blouse rule. If you would not scrub your favorite silk blouse in very hot water with your nails, don't treat your hair that way either. Try using lukewarm water, especially at the scalp. Concentrate your shampoo where the oil and product build up, right at the roots, and then let the lather glide down through the lengths instead of rubbing the ends. Use the pads of your fingers to massage gently rather than your nails to scratch. If you truly feel you need to wash often, alternate a regular gentle shampoo with a very mild, scalp-friendly formula so you are not stripping your hair every single time. Save any strong deep clean or shampoos made to remove buildup for every 4 to 6 washes, almost like a reset, instead of a daily habit. When I softened my own routine, cooler water, slower massage, fewer harsh shampoos, my hair stopped feeling like straw as soon as I stepped out of the shower. A woman in our Golden After 60 community shared that she used to be proud when her hair squeaked after washing because it felt super clean. After switching to lukewarm water and a gentler touch, she told me, my hair finally feels like hair again. Her scalp calmed down, the tightness and itching faded, and she could even stretch her wash days a bit longer without feeling messy. You might want to pause and ask yourself, are you washing your hair because it truly needs it, or because you are chasing that squeaky feeling out of habit? Tell me in the comments one small shift you are willing to try in your next shower. In the next section, we will look at what happens when we keep pulling our hair back with tight ponytails and clips, and how constant tension in the same spots can slowly thin the areas we are trying hardest to protect. Mistake number 5. Constant tension styles that exhaust the follicle. As a woman in her 60s, I know how tempting it is to just pull it back and be done. For years, my default style was the same tight clip or ponytail every morning. It was quick, it kept hair off my face, and in the mirror it looked neat and a little slimmer, like I had everything under control. Many women tell me the same thing: a tight ponytail or strong claw clip feels like the easiest way to look polished when you are short on time or not happy with your volume. But have you ever noticed that the areas you pull the most, your temples, your hairline, the spot where your elastic sits, are exactly where the hair is getting thinner? Every strand grows out of a tiny pocket in the scalp, and that pocket is more sensitive than we think. When we pull our hair back tightly in the same direction day after day, we are putting stress on those tiny roots over and over again. At first, you might only see a little redness or a slight ache at the end of the day. Over time, the hair there can grow in finer and shorter, and if we keep pulling for years, that spot can look bare and struggle to grow back. On the surface, this shows up as a receding hairline, bare-looking temples, or a thin patch at the crown that lines up perfectly with your everyday ponytail. The ends of the ponytail can look ragged and chewed up, because the same hairs are carrying all the tension. The solution is not to ban ponytails forever, but to change how often and how tightly you rely on them. I like to think in terms of rotation and release. Some days, choose a low, soft ponytail at the nape instead of a tight one high on the crown. Another day, move it slightly to one side. On days when you are at home, let your hair rest completely and wear it down or in a very gentle half-up style. Swap thin, harsh elastics for wider, softer ties that spread out the pressure. Try padded headbands or soft clips that hold the hair without biting into one small spot. A few minutes of gentle scalp massage during the week, especially in the areas that have taken the most pulling, can help bring comfort and support circulation. I think of a retired teacher I worked with who had worn the same high ponytail for over 20 years. She assumed the thinning at her crown was just age. When we moved her to softer, lower styles and gave that area time off, she wrote 6 months later to say, "It's not perfect, but I can see baby hairs again." In my own life, I watched the little broken pieces around my temples almost disappear once I stopped yanking everything straight back. Be honest with yourself, are you wearing one tight style because it truly flatters you, or because it feels like the only way to control your hair quickly? Tell me in the comments which area on your head you think has carried the most tension over the years. In the next part, we will shift our attention from the hair itself to the scalp, and talk about why caring for the skin under your hair is just as important as any cut or style. Mistake number 6, ignoring the scalp and focusing only on the ends. For most of my life, every ad I saw told me to worry about split ends. The message was always the same: repair the ends, seal the ends, mask the ends. So that is exactly what I did. I bought rich masks and shiny oils, and carefully rubbed them into the last few inches of my hair, while barely touching my scalp, except to shampoo quickly and move on. It felt like I was doing the right thing. Maybe you recognize yourself in that routine. You pamper the bottom of your hair, because that is the part you can see, and all the while you forget that the future of your hair is being decided much higher up, right at the scalp. Every strand on your head begins in a tiny pocket in the skin, and the skin under your hair is sensitive, just like the skin on your face. It is where each hair is anchored and where new growth starts. As we move through our 50s, 60s, and 70s, that skin can become drier and more reactive, just like the skin on our face. When the scalp is tight, flaky, or constantly itchy, it is not a comfortable home for delicate new hair. You might find yourself scratching more, rubbing at tender spots, or feeling like your head never truly relaxes. All that friction breaks fragile strands near the root and makes thinning more obvious. Emotionally, it can feel defeating. You stand in the bathroom thinking, "I've tried every mask and every serum," without realizing you've been treating the ends of the story and not the root of the problem. A helpful way to think about it is this: healthy hair is a top-down story, not just a bottom trim. Caring for your scalp should feel as natural as caring for the skin on your cheeks. Once in a while, if your skin can tolerate it, you can use a very gentle scalp treatment that helps lift away old oil and product so the follicles are not smothered. During your shower, take an extra minute while your conditioner is on to gently massage your scalp with the pads of your fingers. In the evening, if it suits you, a tiny amount of lightweight scalp oil and slow, circular motions can help release tension and support a sense of comfort. None of this needs to be rough or complicated. Think of it more like relaxing your shoulders at the end of a long day. What happens inside your body matters too. Steady meals, enough protein, plenty of water, and small daily rituals that lower stress all support the environment your hair grows from. Many women notice that long, stressful periods show up on their head, first in the form of more hair falling out than usual or areas that look a little thinner than the rest. When I finally shifted my own routine in my 60s, from only masking my ends to also tending to my scalp and my overall habits, my hair did not suddenly become thick, but it stopped feeling fragile. One woman in our Golden After 60 community told me she had been spending money on the most expensive masks and placing them only on her ends. After adding gentle scalp care, a simpler conditioner, better sleep, and more water, she said, "I still have fine hair, but it finally feels like it's growing from healthy ground." If you notice unusual shedding, constant itching, or areas that look a little thinner than the rest, it is always wise to mention it to your stylist and, even more importantly, to a dermatologist who understands hair and scalp health. Maybe this is the moment to check in with your own routine and ask yourself whether you are only nurturing the part of your hair you can see, or whether you are ready to start treating your scalp as the living foundation it truly is. Thinning hair after 60 is common, but it is not a personal failure, and it is not the end of feeling beautiful. So much of what we call bad hair is really just a handful of habits no one ever taught us to question, and habits can be changed. You don't need a drastic makeover or a brand new life, you simply choose 1 or 2 small shifts and give them a little time to work. Think of this as your quiet hair lift plan. Trade a heavy 1 length cut for softer shaping that supports volume. Turn down the heat on your tools and keep them moving to protect the hair you have. Lighten up on heavy products and give your hair a gentle reset when it starts to feel coated. Wash your hair like a silk blouse, not a dirty pan. Let your follicles rest from tight styles, and show your scalp some love, because that is where every new strand begins. Share in the comments which of these 6 habits surprised you most, and which one you are willing to change this month. Your answer may be exactly what another woman needs to hear. If this was helpful, like the video so more women over 60 can find it. Subscribe to Golden After 60 for calm, practical beauty guidance, and when you are ready for the next step, watch the video on the best hairstyles for thinning hair after 60. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.